Hello and welcome to another episode of Senior Soundings. Thank you for joining us today. I am your host, Gerry LePage. And
Gerry, hold on, we're going to start again.
Okay.
Do it one more time. Count to 10 at the beginning, and make sure you don't say, okay, here we go, or anything like that. All right, when you're ready, you can start.
Okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of Senior Soundings. I'm your host, Gerry LePage, and I thank you for joining us today. Also grateful to my friend and colleague, Mike Kennedy with East Coast Capital, who's going to talk to us about reverse mortgages. Mike, thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Oh, certainly. Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, before we get into your profession, I'd like to ask you about the pin on your lapel.
Oh,
and what is that all about?
Thank you. This is a veteran's pin, and it's not officially awarded at all, but simply it's available. It's the flag, obviously, but I am a Vietnam era veteran, not a Vietnam veteran. I qualified for the trip, didn't get invited, and I didn't ask to go. But it's small, kind of unobtrusive, but that's what it's for.
And it does honor to your service to our country, and I thank you for that. My dad was a veteran. I didn't have the opportunity to serve, even though I was a candidate for West Point. I didn't get in, and I decided just to get on with my life, which did not involve military service. But I definitely thank you for yours.
Certainly.
And so, reverse mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
What are they for? How do they help people?
Okay. A reverse mortgage is a government-sponsored, government-insured program that's designed specifically to keep senior citizens in their homes. In order to qualify for a reverse mortgage, first of all, is a home equity loan. It's set up to enable homeowners to access some of the equity that they built up in their homes, comes back to them, and of course it's tax-free because it's not income, it's their own money coming back to them. Can be used for absolutely any purpose whatsoever. And in order to qualify for a reverse mortgage, we only do a reverse mortgage on the customer's primary residence. We don't do second homes or income properties or anything like that. And when I meet someone, in the course of the first few minutes, we can quickly determine if they qualify. And if that's the case, then I gather some information, and in almost overnight, but the next day, I can do an illustration that shows what the customer would qualify for. And the reverse mortgage, again, it's a home equity loan. That's the key to the whole program. One of the big advantages of a reverse mortgage is as long as the customer stays in the home, pays the taxes and insurance, they never make a payment on the reverse mortgage. Interest does accrue and has to be paid when the home is no longer the primary residence. But what they've done, this happens very often, is I help homeowners who are in their 60s or 70s who still have a substantial mortgage. And I've had people say to me, Mike, I'm ready to retire. I'm tired, but I've also got 10 more years of $1,200 a month mortgage payments. Well, with the reverse mortgage, what we do is the first thing is pay off any liens. What that does for the customer is it eliminates that monthly mortgage payment. So now they have, if it's, using my example, $1,200 a month more to spend. And of course, what it does for us is we pay off that lien when we place our own lien, so it makes us the primary lien holder. Then the customer, a reverse mortgage is an open-ended note. It does not have a term. As long as they stay there and meet the requirements, which is basically the taxes and insurance, the reverse mortgage goes on forever. Customer gets a monthly statement every month, shows this is what the opening balance was, this is the amount of interest that was charged, because interest is charged and will have to be paid at some point down the road, but not on an ongoing basis. And whatever money the customer qualifies for with the reverse mortgage, we always qualify them for the maximum amount that's available to them. Whatever they don't use stays in a line of credit that they can access at any time, again, for any purpose whatsoever.
I see. Okay, so under what circumstances would a reverse mortgage not be a good choice for a person to make?
If you're not going to stay in your home, that's probably not the solution. And if it's more than 2 years, it might be viable, feasible. If it's more than 5 years, it probably is a good idea, because that's the idea, is it's going to enable them to stay there. Again, senior citizens like the status quo. I mean, folks, we've been in this house for this long.
Right.
We watched the neighborhood grow up. This is where we raise the kids. And but with the way expenses have gone up, inflation, taxes, insurance, we're just not making it the way that we were before. So this is the solution. And the nice thing about it, I can determine very quickly if they qualify, and if they do, I can show them about what. If they decide to go forward, we will have an appraisal done by a licensed independent appraiser, and that gives us a hard number to work with. That quickly, my laptop computer will tell on this house with their ages, because the older the customer is, the higher the percentage of their equity we can make available to them.
And yeah, I was going to ask that. So yes, thank you for leading into that. But my understanding is that, excuse me, the amount of money that a person can get from a reverse mortgage is based in some way upon their age?
Yes, it is. And the older the customer is, the more money they qualify for. But reverse mortgages, industry jargon, pardon me, but a reverse mortgage is a negative amortization loan. What that's saying is that each month a small amount of interest is added, so that in fact the balance is increasing. And so the possibility exists, it doesn't happen very often, but the possibility exists that when the last person passed on, if they've been there for a long time, a lot of interest had accrued, and maybe it's in a terrible real estate market at the same time, the possibility exists that the reverse mortgage balance could be more than what the house would sell for. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, then the house would be sold for what it brings, the reverse mortgage paid off, whatever the deficit is, whichever was not covered by the sale of the home, is covered by a private mortgage insurance policy that we put in place for every one of our customers. It's a requirement, so that they know that no matter what happens, when customer stays, we know in the long run real estate's going to appreciate. It always does. Right. And so any appreciation that occurs belongs to the customer. But in the unlikely event that there is no excess equity or there's a deficit, it's very simple. It's covered by the house is sold. Whatever the deficit is covered by the private mortgage insurance. And people think private mortgage insurance, so I have to send $50 a month or something. No, it's a single premium life insurance policy. We put it in place, and the premium for it comes out of the closing costs, so that they don't have to pay anything for it, but that single premium life insurance policy stays in effect as long as they're living in the home.
So that's a really important guarantee, I think. You know,
Absolutely.
I know way back when, in the early days of reverse mortgages, there wasn't as much regulation and so on, and so people got a rather negative view of reverse mortgages. And really, with all of the assurances in place now and regulations, it does seem to be a much more worthy thing to consider.
A reverse mortgage, you're right, when they were instituted, there was no regulation and there were a lot of abuses took place. The government stepped in and they said, we want reverse mortgages to be available to our senior citizens, but not the way they're being done at that time. This was back in the 1980s. The regulation in introducing them was signed by President Reagan, so sometime in the 1980s. But the government said to the companies that were offering reverse mortgages, if you're doing it the right way, continue. If you're not, either clean up your act or go do something else. Well, a reverse mortgage is a very consumer-friendly product. First of all, in order to make application for a reverse mortgage, everyone who's on the deed has to attend a HUD-approved counseling session. And frankly, it's a check on me also to make sure that I've done my job, that I've helped you as a prospective customer become an educated consumer. So, and until the customer completes the counseling session, I can't take their application, period. Once we get the counseling done, I collect some documents, and they're pretty simple: copy of the driver's license, tax bill, insurance policy, that sort of thing. Put together the application package, and when we arrange closing, and after the closing, because it's a consumer contract, it has a 3-day right of rescission. So if we close on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday goes by, it's actually on Friday that the money is available for paying off a lien, that the money goes to the attorney's trust account, and he pays off the mortgage. He also, whatever cash that they're taking for whatever the purpose they want, and that all happens on the 4th day. And then for the rest of their lives, literally, as long as they live there, the statement comes every month, so you're never more than 30 days away from knowing exactly where you stand. Further than that, if there's something that is not clear or you're not sure about, we have a customer service department. You have their toll-free number. Call them up and ask them. And it's really cool, because when you call in, the next person who finishes the call gets your call. First thing that happens, the caller ID puts all of your information right on that person's computer screen. So they know that, Mr. Gerry or Mr. LePage, how can I help you? And all you have to do is tell them how much money would you like, and that you don't have to tell them what you want it for. It's really none of their business. All they look at, they say, well, this customer is current with his taxes, current with his insurance, and he qualifies, so that you know that money will be deposited in your account, direct deposited, or a check in the mail within 5 days of you making the call.
And that's really such an important issue, because a lot of seniors, as they grow a little older, they may come to the realization that I need a little bit of help. You know, I'd like to stay in my house. I don't want to have to move into a nursing home or assisted living or something like that. But I know that I need some help from time to time. I'm worried about getting in or out of the shower, for instance. Sure. I would like someone to maybe go to the supermarket for me, or cook a meal, something that I can refrigerate and have a few meals out of during the course of a week. But how am I going to pay for this? And so having a reverse mortgage as an option provides the income, right, that a person might need to be able to pay a caregiver.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole issue of, allowing a person, enabling a person to remain in their home.
Sure. Or home health care, someone who comes in for an hour or two at a time and takes care of, one woman actually, somebody to take care of the heavy lifting. And, or maybe modifications to the house to make it more senior friendly, grab bars, those kinds of things.
Right.
Or absolutely anything. Every single reverse mortgage that I've done in the 18 years I've been in this business has had one thing in common, and that is I want to stay in my home. And then beyond that, anything and everything you could think of that somebody has had a need for it, but they're saying, well, how, in my situation, how do I afford this? Well, this may be the way to afford it.
Right, right. As far as you said, it's a fairly simple process as far as applying and being approved. We did touch a little bit on how much a person would get based on their age. Could you please elaborate a little bit on that? Is it a percentage?
It is. It's a percentage, and it's a sliding scale. Again, the older the person is, the higher the percentages. But reverse mortgages are designed by the government to be very conservative. Again, because of the fact that being a negative amortization loan, that they always build in a buffer so that someone who is just turned 62, which is the minimum age, would qualify for about 50% of their equity. My personal record, about a few years ago, I helped a woman who was 100 years old, a widow living by herself, and all that she wanted to do was to stay in her house. And so we did that, and I remember that when I ran the numbers through my laptop on the program that HUD supplies to us, and she qualified for about 80%, so she still had a 20% buffer. We refer to that as unused equity, and that's going to go to the person or their estate when they're gone, or in the event that the negative amortization did catch up, and if there's a deficit, that deficit is going to be covered by that money that's left, and if there's still a deficit, it's going to be covered by the private mortgage insurance. So, for the person who just wants to stay in their home, there could not be a better arrangement. Because we monitor everything that's happening, so that you have to continue to pay your insurance, obviously, pay your taxes. If you don't, we were immediately advised of that, and we work with you to get you back on track.
Right.
And then the question often comes up: well, so what do I want to sell my house? Well, if you want to sell your house, you don't have to ask us. You don't have to tell us. You simply go ahead and list the house and sell it. When you sell the house, naturally, the reverse mortgage is going to have to be paid off to give the buyer a clear title. But and once that's done, the new owner, the purchaser, moves into the house, and probably you're gone, or you're moving into assisted living or with the family or whatever, and it's all wrapped up, and the process goes on. In the meantime, something else that I find a lot of people are interested in, well, what happens with all of this? Well, when you get a reverse mortgage, like most forward mortgages, they're sold. They're put into a package, and it's an investment. For instance, the reverse mortgage that I closed last week might have been spoken for 90 days ago when an investor said that I will buy the next 25 reverse mortgages with these parameters. And I'm told that the investors who buy these reverse mortgages are usually hedge funds. Hedge funds have a lot of money that they have to invest.
Right.
And a reverse mortgage as an investment is not good for everybody, because a reverse mortgage has a potential long life. And if the investor buys 50 reverse mortgages, they know that 2 or 3 of them are going to mature in 6 months or a year when those persons pass on. But they also know that if this person is a minimum age 62, that reverse mortgage could be outstanding 40 years from now. It doesn't make any difference. The investor knows, they're absolutely guaranteed that they will collect their interest that has accrued all of that time, and so that he cannot lose with it. And so that's why I don't get involved in any of that. I strictly meet with folks and help them to determine whether or not it's appropriate. But I'm very comfortable, because I know that in the long run, it's going to work, and they do. And again, with 18 years in the business, I've had occasion to see some of the same reverse mortgages come and go, and if they're appropriate, if I do my homework and help the customer do their homework, we know it's going to work well for them.
So a reverse mortgage essentially sounds, well, no kind of investment or, monetary transaction is totally without risk. But it sounds to me from what you're saying that reverse mortgages are, relatively speaking, at least low risk,
Yes.
if not no risk, certainly to the homeowner.
Pretty close.
And again, it will allow a person to remain in their home. And we know the psychological, the emotional underpinnings of that. A couple buys or builds a home, they move in, they raise their children in that home, and as they enter into old age, they're attached.
Sure.
They like that house. They like the fact that they built it or that they bought it together. And so that even if one spouse has passed away, that almost really makes it all the more compelling for the surviving spouse to want to stay in that house, almost as a way of honoring the memory of their departed spouse.
That's so, and also having a comfortable place to live that they've been in for a long time, that they've made the modifications to it, that sort of thing. And yeah, if we all do our homework and going in, it's almost a can't lose proposition. It really does work well. I was surprised when I got into this business how many people still had sizable mortgages that they were making payments on.
Right.
And so, of course, with the reverse mortgage, if they decide to go that way, we pay off the mortgage and eliminate those payments. I had an older gentleman one time, and he looked at it and he said, "This is going to give me a do-over on my financial life." Well, that's exactly right. You know, people have substantial mortgages in old age for various valid reasons. Doesn't make any difference what it is, but the payments still have to be made. But this is a way to eliminate them, and you know, it's a way to access the equity that you've built up.
Right, right, and that's especially important if you know, again, a spouse passes away. Now suddenly the retirement income is cut down,
Sure,
and sometimes pretty considerably. And now the surviving spouse is left with the quandary of how to make ends meet, continue to pay the mortgage, and so on. So having a resource like a reverse mortgage where all they have to do is take care of the property insurance and the taxes, it does really seem like a no-lose type of situation.
it does. It makes sense, and that's the first thing that I do. I help. I'm a salesman, of course, but it's kind of consultative selling. And I gather the information and help them to make a decision whether or not this is appropriate for them. And if it's not, then we really don't have anything. If we can't help them, we know that immediately. It doesn't take weeks or months to get a decision.
Right.
And if we can, from the time that the customer completes the counseling to closing, is generally about 6 weeks. So that and usually there's some particular need that's driving them to talk to me. So we know that this is not going to be a long, drawn-out process. So that if there is a need for some cash, that we can't. We work at the behest of the government, so we work at their pace. But we also know that this is doable, and we'll have the money, and the customer knows that. And if there is someone else that is waiting to be paid or whatever, they can tell them, and that 6 weeks from now we'll have a closing, and the cash will be available.
Right, right. So it really does offer a financial solution for a lot of people who might otherwise have a lot of difficulty. Now, so say an elderly person has taken out a reverse mortgage, and now they pass away, and they have a child to whom they want to leave the house. So, and of course, we know with real estate, especially in this area, that even the most modest house might be worth $500,000 or more in today's market. So if there's, say, like a $50,000 reverse mortgage balance to be paid, the heir to that house, if I understand this correctly, would be able to just take out a mortgage to pay off the reverse mortgage balance. And so they could be living in a $500,000 house with a $50,000 mortgage.
Absolutely.
And just a standard mortgage that they could probably easily handle the payments for. Am I correct in?
Sure. When I'm talking with people, I tell them that when you're gone, all of these things are going to happen virtually automatically, and they're going to be handled in accordance with the terms of your will. And do you have wills, and are they current? A lot of people do, but if they haven't, I tell them, I don't do wills. That's not why I'm here. But having wills will make things go more smoothly for everyone. And so, in my opinion, you should have a will. And and since we're going to have an attorney who's going to do the title work and do the closing, he's going to have all the information, so he could draw up wills for you at the same time. And it's just one more thing then you never have to worry about again for the rest of your lives.
Right. Excellent. And both Mike and I belong to a professional networking organization called CARE. That's the acronym for Collaboration, Advocacy, and Resources for Elders. And actually, that's how we met. But I know that in that group there are a number of attorneys who specialize in preparing wills and the like. So anyone out in our viewing audience, if you're in need of some kind of professional consultation, whether it's with Mike as far as reverse mortgage, or to get a referral to an attorney who can help you prepare your will, do feel free to contact me. And we have a couple of minutes left, Mike. Do you have any parting comments, perhaps a reflection on your military service? And, oh, one more thing, I almost forgot to mention this. This is our 50th episode of Senior Soundings, and I'm really delighted that you could be my guest for this special occasion. So,
thank you.
But yeah, if you have any little parting anecdote in the last 90 seconds.
Well, it was really interesting when I got into this business 18 years ago, because I found that most of my customers were way older than me. That's not the case any longer. Something has changed along the way here. But I work for a great company, and they give me complete flexibility because they know that I know what I'm doing. And almost 100% of my business does come from referrals, whether it's from satisfied customers, professional like yourself, attorneys, elder law, accountants, that sort of thing. And the one thing that is very important is I make house calls. I'm local. I live in Tiverton, and all it takes is a phone call, and I'll get some information. We'll schedule time to get together and gather more information and determine if there's something that will work for you. And so feel free, pick up. It doesn't cost anything any more than with cell phones. Call, get the information you need, and we'll see if this is something that's appropriate for you.
Excellent. Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate your coming on. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. Again, thanks to Mike Kennedy, and enjoy your life, and we'll see you next time on Senior Soundings.